Well, hello everybody. Welcome. It is September 18th, 2024. This is the RambleCast. I'm your host, Cody Toombs, and I've got a Corbin Davenport with me.
Hello.
So, Hoopy, how you doing? Good to see you in here. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's been a week. Things have happened. Weird things mostly, but things. I think we can collectively get around things have happened.
Things have definitely occurred to me this week.
Yeah, things have definitely occurred to different people this week. I mean, the craziest things happen, and sometimes I don't know what there is to say about them. Hey, Austin, how's it going? Um, Other times, crazy things can happen, and we know exactly what to say about them, but we choose not to because, man, it's like beating up on it's like beating up on the dude who's already taken a hoof to the head. I don't know. I know this rambling would make no sense, but if you're at all looking at the background image right now, you get what I'm talking about. JD Vance is an effing liar. All right. Anyway, not our topic. But yeah. So, how's everyone doing? Um. So I don't know. I don't really have a good transition, and I'm not really sure what our opening babble's gonna be. Um. But I'm tired, so I'm probably gonna be a little loopy, and very possibly could fall asleep on stream. I don't think that's gonna happen, but we'll see what happens. Um. Corbin, how are you?
Um, I'm hanging in there.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
That's fair.
that's about it. Update. We'll get to it later, but all the Apple updates came out. Haven't had anything blow up yet, which is nice. Um, Busy with other stuff, playing some games, all that good stuff. Um, but uh, yeah, I guess the first thing is the PSA, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say, speaking of playing games, LinkedIn has decided to play games with your data. It is the latest company to decide, you know what? Normal people have just given their data away to us, and we can do anything we want with it, even if it just anything. Who cares what? We'll just train some model on your data, and you can't say anything about it. Except you can kind of say something about it, as this person, Rachel Toback. I think that I'm saying that right. As Rachel points out, you can go into LinkedIn's settings and privacy, data privacy, and data for generative AI improvement and turn that the F off. And you probably should. If you'd like to see this post, I am linking it in chat. Simply put, yeah, LinkedIn wants to train on anything you post. They want to train on your resumes. They want to train on your your work history, pretty much anything and everything. So,
Which, let me just say, if you're training like LinkedIn data, you're gonna get a deranged artificial intelligence. Like maybe when you mix it in with all the other crap that you didn't ask for permission for, maybe you get something. But like LinkedIn the past couple years has been like insane. Um,
yeah.
so this to me feels about as useful as like maybe training on Reddit, where you're gonna have to filter out a lot of people, a lot of people you got to get out of that data set, and even then, I feel like you probably don't have something accurate. As Google, showed all of us when it started telling people to eat glue because someone was being funny on Reddit once and said to do that.
Yeah, oh man, every time I go to LinkedIn, it is a combination of um some portion of genuinely sincere posts and comments, basically stuff on the lines of looking for work, or maybe such and such company is hiring. Some people bringing up maybe issues that they have with work, or thoughts, comments, whatever. But then there's also the rest of what you get on LinkedIn, which includes well, this might have more to do with some of the people I'm associated with, but a couple of SEO expert wannabes or types that they have a lot of opinions about how things do well on the internet, and they're always kind of creepy, weird, and wrong. Um, there's some portion of people who are again, I'm into software development, so I get a lot of recommended posts from people who are saying, "Oh, here's what you should actually do with your programming languages." Those kinds of things, and wow, it is amazing to watch people who clearly have never written a line of code in their life giving advice on how you should be programming, because whoa, worst best practices I've ever seen. And then there's
You
a
don't
whole
have
ton
to.
of people
You
who
don't
are
have
just
to say that about me. That's uncalled for.
I mean, do I need to pull up examples? Anyway, um and then there's some portion of people who are the either crypto scam fans, or Elon Musk fans, or grindcore, work yourself to death fans. Any of
Yeah,
those people.
LinkedIn is definitely ground zero for the workaholics. Um, but
I don't like
yeah,
calling them
it's
workaholics. Honestly, I think that gives them too much credit. Workaholics are people who believe that the work is, or well, they're people who enjoy the work, or
that's
or
true.
feel a genuine
And
compulsion
usually
to it.
the yeah, like the workaholic people are probably the ones that are like also like doing real work. Like a
Yeah,
lot of the people who are like rise and grind at 4 a.m. They like get up at 4 a.m. and like check emails for 2 hours,
but
like that kind of stuff.
yeah, the
Which is
grindcore.
also a lot of my job. So like
Yeah,
stones and glass houses and all. But I'm not being that annoying about it on the internet.
yeah, but then I look at the grindcores, and like oh, what was that? I can't think of his name. This is gonna bug me. I want to call him Volchek, but I know that's completely wrong. But it sounds a little like that. Anyway, uh, the people who like worship that sort of mindset of the true rise and grinders, like their idea is it. Every minute you got to be hustling. Every minute you got to be out there, like pushing your business, pushing your projects. If you work for someone, you work 10 times harder than they ask you to work. Uh those guys, yeah, F those guys. Get them out of here. They should not have a platform at all. LinkedIn needs to like be banning
Yeah,
these people, not indulging them.
it's just like every other social media where like there's normal people and annoying people, and the annoying people are the ones who rise to the top.
Mm-hmm.
But I think LinkedIn is like especially bad because they were one of the first ones to jump into like that they very clearly had like a way of writing posts that became popular because it would get boosts again to like Twitter and Facebook have versions of this, but with LinkedIn I think it was much more defined, and also they were one of the first to get on the like when you write a post on LinkedIn there's like a button that says like write some gibberish for me with AI. So uh, I would imagine they have to exclude that from the trading somehow because then you're just
Yeah. You're
circle of
retraining
life
on
in
your own
your
garbage.
yeah you're don't eat the dog food. Yeah, so if you have a LinkedIn account go turn that off, and then go turn that similar switch off for everything you've ever posted anything to ever. And hope that it actually does something. It isn't just like a switch that does nothing.
The it feels good to toggle the switch. Yes.
Yeah, this is definitely the 2020s version of the Facebook posts that are like, I do not give Facebook permission to use my content. It probably has the same effect.
Yeah. And Austin, yes. Gary Vaynerchuk. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly who I was thinking of.
Okay.
Um yeah, please.
Curvy has arrived. Hello.
How's it going, Curvy? Welcome.
Okay. So that was LinkedIn. What do we want to? Where do we want to go to
So
next?
we're just gonna go straight into the next AI horribleness. Snapchat. So Snapchat has decided, apparently, it is going to start using your AI selfies to advertise to you. Like it's going to start generating ads that use your AI selfie. Uh, I guess to speak to you or as part of like I don't know, some kind of built-in ad concept. Um, it wasn't too super specific, and this is on 404 Media, which you know take grain of salt and all. But yeah, presumably it's going to. Um, I'm not signed in, so whatever. I can't see
Yeah,
the whole
it's
article.
just it. I don't think anything's rolled out yet. It's just like in the new terms and conditions, so they're
Right,
gonna do it
it's a
eventually.
concept.
Yeah. Um, I don't like. I would assume that this ends up being kind of like those apps that like Google has built, where you can like try on clothes um, virtually, and like maybe they try to put the clothes that they want to sell you from Timu or whatever, like on you somehow. I don't know. That's what I would assume would happen. Um, but yeah, let me tell you, your product will look worse if I'm in the ads. It will look less appealing to me. Don't do that.
Yeah.
It's weird. It gives me bad vibes.
And I like exactly what Hoopy just said. It's a very weird, dumb idea that's extremely on brand for Snap. And that's exactly it. That's the thing. This feels like something Snap does. It's it some companies look, don't get me wrong, I think Facebook would do this mostly because they would happily copy anything Snap does. Um and I can think of a few other companies that would do this, but generally speaking, like it is very on brand for Snap to have this notion that some people want to see their own AI generated images pop up in ads. And look, for it's weird. As I said that, I started thinking about one of my exes. I absolutely believe she would love to see her own face pop up in ads aimed at her. Um, Anyone who's got a bit of vanity going on probably actually does kind of love this idea. Because looking in a mirror is something a good number of people actually really enjoy. So, yeah, I could kind of see this working for certain people. And I suppose to an extent, we also have to consider the audience. The type of person that really loves using Snapchat in general. And I'm not trying to throw everyone into a single pot here, but there are obviously certain types of groups that use certain types of social networks, or um, they like the kinds of things that you get out of certain social networks, and Snapchat certainly attracts a select a few select crowds, and I think a good number of those people actually are the kinds that will react well to having their likeness show up in ads aimed at them. That said, I'm very curious how much this is going to cost. Like, it can they do this at a low cost kind of a thing, or are the video ads going to be each one AI generated in some way? Like, how
I
much
think it'd be very
processing is that
funny.
possibly going to add up to.
I think it'd be funny if they passed the cost on for generating these to the advertiser. Like, oh, you want to put ads in Snapchat? All right, the AI ones are triple the cost because we have to go find a GPU.
Yeah.
um, so I mean, I'm always in full support of robbing advertisers. So that could be cool. I do like that this is the second segment in a row where we're generalizing the users of a social media platform. I think we can go for three.
I
Let's
mean,
talk about Mastodon.
I think that was a relatively, you know, well handled generalization that I made. But yeah, yeah, it is a thing. And
I think
I
it's just I think like I don't even know if I would correlate like a usage to it. I think it's just like if you're in a certain age range, like this is one of the messaging things. It's like the iMessage equivalent when you have to mix platforms.
yeah,
Um, that's
yeah,
how I see it the most. But again, I'm not, I'm not normal myself, and I don't talk to a lot of normal people, so I'm not the person to ask about this.
right. And look, I'll fully grant Snap definitely was not quite for my age group. But I had a lot of friends who were not that much younger than me, who very much were big fans of Snapchat. So, I guess there's whatever to it. Um but really quickly, Curvy, the LinkedIn thing, if you see the first link that I posted, that was in fact about that topic. We started with that as a PSA. And Corbin, I fully agree with you. We have already generalized the users of a couple of social networks, so let's just go for three. Neckbeards unite in getting mad at Mozilla.
Yeah.
I'll let you intro this one.
Um, yeah. So Mozilla announced that they are shutting down their Mozilla.social Mastodon server. Um, and I guess that was the extent of it. Um, but this comes after Mozilla dumped like a lot of time and money into Mastodon, because they started up this server. I don't think it's this way anymore, but for a while, they started up their Mastodon server and it had a custom interface on top. It wasn't like stock Mastodon, it was a web app called Elk, which you can use separately with just any Mastodon account. And I believe they were funding some development on Elk to make that happen. So, like, there was a lot of effort going into that. And at one point, they also did invest in a Mastodon app, a third party app. Um, so this was like a big experiment for them. Um, and now they're just not going to do it anymore. And the server will be shut down in December. They didn't even announce like any kind of a phase out where like it's going to be like read only, to keep some of the links working and stuff. It's just going to be gone after that. And this was annoying because I think this is one of the places where Mozilla could have actually done some good. They make it a point pretty often to advocate for an open web and like these breaking away from big tech and uh that kind of stuff. And a Mastodon server, in the grand scheme of things, was a pretty low cost way of doing that. Like, especially in the final form where there was just like a stock Mastodon server. Like, those aren't cheap, but they're also like cheaper than a lot of the other things Mozilla's doing. And it was, a way to have a more active user base. And I don't know, maybe you could have thrown in some pocket ads in there eventually if you want to make a little bit of money, like they do with Firefox. Um, but instead, they just kind of like burned another bridge. there were a lot of people um, making fun of this on my Mastodon feed. Um, a lot of people joking that like they will dump endless amounts of money into like random AI projects, but this is apparently too much for them. And my takeaway from this is just that I really don't like how Mozilla is run. They have an issue. They have issues with uh they're literally running a company like I run my personal projects, like how I spend my free time, which is I'm starting way too many things that I know I'm never going to finish, and then eventually I'm like, all right, I need to stop doing that. Except my personal projects don't have millions of users. That's the difference. Like they have Firefox, they have they've tried to make a bunch of like extra services on top of Firefox, like some like a white label VPN and that kind of stuff to try to make money that way. They have Pocket, they have Thunderbird. They're building like a whole like software ecosystem out of Thunderbird. They bought K9 Mail and brought the main developer of that to Thunderbird to make that the Android Thunderbird app. I don't know where the iPhone Thunderbird app is. They said was happening like 2 years ago. Um, they had a file sharing thing for a while that shut down because people were using it to send malware. They had a this was like now a decade ago, but they had a mobile operating system that was shut down. Like, people give Google flack for like killing things all the time, and obviously Google's at a much bigger scale than Mozilla, so the impact of those shutdowns is more widespread. But Mozilla has a pretty good streak of uh, trying things and then kind of killing them after they don't immediately work out. And I know like why they're this way, because most of their income is still coming from Google search engine placement checks. And if I was Mozilla, I would definitely also be concerned about that and trying a bunch of different things to try to make money. Um, but also like Mastodon was never going to be that. Like this is just not like a it's not a profit machine. This was always going to be like a side thing they did to try to like participate in the community they are aspiring to support. But now if you have a post on Mozilla Social, because Mastodon still doesn't have post migrations, it's just going to be gone in a couple months. um, Oops. um, so yeah, it's disappointing. I really wish Mozilla was run differently. I wish they uh, tried fewer things and stuck with those for longer. um, I don't envy their position as a company primarily making a web browser, and you can't really make money with web browsers anymore, unless you like make it spyware. Or get Google to pay you so they can be the spyware when people make searches. Um, so like, I don't envy them, but also like I've just seen management mistake after management mistake over there. They did a bunch of layoffs like I want to say 6 months ago, or maybe it was a year ago now, because this year's going by very fast. But they did a big round of layoffs a while ago. Um, which was partially related to this. I think some of the people who were like helping maintain this stuff got laid off. So I'm sure that's also why. But yeah, I don't know. I wish they would be better, but they're not. Um, it's unfortunate.
Okay.
And now they are lowing a lot of money on like random AI projects now, which is annoying.
So I'm going to fully agree with you on the AI point. They should not be blowing money on that. It's a very poor choice. Um, as far as the Mastodon side of this, I'm gonna I'll start by saying I remember being kind of negative about this idea from the start. Largely because, and you said it very very plainly at the beginning, running a Mastodon server is kind of actually expensive. Um, because basically, the more people that your users follow, the more data gets dumped into a database on your server, and it just piles up really quickly. Um, at least assuming the people that you follow are producing a decent amount of stuff. And it doesn't help that a lot of people kind of have this tendency of like following bots that also kind of like reshare things. So you get a lot of funky things happening. Um, that being said, according to this, and I'm assuming that this is accurate, Mozilla.social had exactly 270 active users at the time of the announcement. 270. Look, I'm not I don't mean to be a jerk about this, but I think if I started my own Mastodon instance, I could probably get half that in, you know, a a couple weeks.
Yeah, the other element of this is like Mozilla laid off some of the people who were responsible for this months ago. So I think a lot of people who might have been using this jump ship
Sure.
at around that point. And also for a lot of the server's existence, it was invite only and
Mm-hmm.
mostly like Mozilla stuff. So like that was also part of things, like this wasn't like an open server for a lot of
Right.
its
And if I
history.
remember correctly, I don't know if they ever did this, but I thought they were planning to use this as a subscription thing. So ideally you were going to uh pay monthly for your account. Um
I don't remember anything about that, but
okay, I know I heard it. I don't remember if it was ever official though. Anyway, setting that aside, I'm going to make a guess right now. Of those 270 active users, how many of them do you think actually work for Mozilla? I'm guessing somewhere between all and damn near all.
yeah, it's a lot of Mozilla people. It's all the like Mozilla accounts, I think, or a couple of them. That's
So,
the other thing is like Mozilla, like they still post on like Twitter more than they do on Mastodon. I'm like, guys, what are you doing? Your market's over here.
yeah.
I know your
But
potential market is over there, but your actual market is over here.
yeah. But when you start putting these things together, honestly, I'm not sure that it really mattered that they are bailing from this, because what they're kind of doing is basically just, if it works out the way, or if the numbers work out the way I assume that they do, they're basically just saying, hey, if you work here, we're no longer supplying your account. You gotta go somewhere else. And that could be all that they're doing. And I don't think they were really taking that much part. Like, once they stopped funding development of Mastodon apps, and of course the custom interface, once they stopped working on those things, I don't think that they really had any involvement in Mastodon anyway. It's not like they were taking an active role in this. And as you said, they fired a lot of the people who were part of this project. So I mean, it's kind of been over anyway, and I don't
Yeah,
think that they were doing that much with it even while it was going. So,
yeah. This is definitely just one of those things that's more like it's equivalent to like a normal Google Graveyard thing where like it doesn't really like impact a lot of people, but it's like generally making you less enthusiastic about the company as a whole.
okay, I agree with that, but actually I think this is worse. I actually think this is worse than your typical Google Graveyard moment, because this was specifically a thing where Mozilla basically said, "Hey, there's this cool thing called Mastodon. We see the potential in this. We love this. It's pretty special." And then, use the 3 months later card, and oh yeah, never mind, this thing's whatever, we lost interest by. And now what they've successfully done is kind of told people, oh yeah, this Mastodon thing also isn't that great, so you shouldn't pay attention to that. So I think they're hurting Mastodon a lot by the fact that they were very non-committal. Like if they just never
Yeah.
got into this in the first place, it would have been better for Mastodon overall.
Yeah, it's disappointing. It's disappointing because again, like this sounded like a great thing for Mozilla to do. Like this is exactly like kind of what they advocate for constantly is like building alternative tech, that has a better community around it and it's open source and all that fun stuff. And what's funny is uh, Vivaldi used this as a victory lap because Vivaldi has a Mastodon server, and it's actually pretty cool because they've integrated it with their like browser account. So like you log in with the account you used to like sync your browser to the Mastodon server, and that's still functional, and I'm sure has far more users than the Mozilla one because it's been around for longer. And so yeah, I don't know what they're doing over there. Um, they're flailing, is kind of the impression I get.
Yeah.
And they still have this very weird thing where like part of Mozilla is a nonprofit and then part of it is a for-profit corporation, and there's stuff that's like in one part but not the other part, and one of the parts keeps wants also to be like a venture capitalist fund and like fund other projects, and like that's not the thing I would do if I was concerned about like trying to uh keep my browser alive without Google paying Google checks. So I don't know. I'm not a CEO, but I feel like I would do things differently over there.
I mean,
um
what it sounds like is really the front for a money laundering operation. It's the kind of thing where uh, by day you run a laundromat, and at night people come by to play at the arcade. And what's really happening in the background is they've got underground tunnels that they're running drugs through from Mexico. And yeah, it's like that's kind of what it feels like they're really doing.
yeah, I'm sure the
Oh,
org
and by the
I'm
way,
sure
we make
that
a web browser.
yeah, I'm sure the org chart for Mozilla right now is like if you squint your eyes it might look like the org chart for like Enron, just a little bit. It's just a very big mess and no one really knows how it works
Yeah.
until it collapses and California doesn't have power.
um, or until the DOJ starts investigating and people have to start coming up with answers of how it works. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Austin said Mozilla is just prepping for the Google Chrome DOJ breakup. Um, yeah, I mean, in theory, they should be getting a surplus of users now from the EU because now when you set up an iPhone or an iPad in the EU, and I think a Windows PC, you get that lovely choose your browser pop up with like the random list of popular web browsers, and Firefox is going to be on there. So, like, again, I feel like they can do better here. They're being handed users. Like I don't envy them because like if I was trying to make Firefox sustainable, I think that the number one thing would be like there needs to be a paid thing somewhere. But that's also a thing that like is very hard to do when you are a fully open source thing, and you need to also have a license and like release structure that lets you be in like every Linux distribution and that kind of stuff. So I'm sure it's difficult, but I feel like I could do better. I can fix her. Let me run Mozilla, guys. I can do it.
yeah.
I can do it.
Oh,
First order of business, we're bringing back the Firefox 4.0 interface. That was way better. Bringing it back. I don't like. I'm using Firefox now. I don't like this detached tabs nonsense. I don't know who came up with that. Bad idea. I want my old tabs back.
I mean, I look, as long as we can agree on making the assets higher resolution to look good on Retina displays, I'm with you.
Okay. Yeah, because like I have my my ancient quote unquote ancient my Mac Mini back here running Snow Leopard, and I installed the last functional version of Firefox on it in case I need to load websites. And I was like, oh, I like this better. I like how this used to look. And what's funny is that like over the years, like Firefox has redone their interface several times, and every time it happens, I was always like, "Oh, the new one's pretty good." I don't know why everyone's bitching about the old one being gone. And but this most recent one, I'm like, oh, I'm that person now. I'm gonna complain. I'd like the old one back, please.
I mean, that does make sense.
Anyway, so yeah, very sad. I should be able to run Mozilla. Um, do I want to do the Vive headset next?
Actually, seeing as we were just cracking on Mozilla, I figured it'd be a good time to crack on another browser. Google is doing bad things to Chrome. And wow,
Oh
I
yeah.
totally woke up a phone with that. Um, so yeah, Chrome is getting the BNPL treatment. That's buy now, pay later. Uh,
Yes, this was a Corbin breaking story.
yes.
I saw this. I saw this Chrome flag being added in the GitHub, and I don't think anyone else beat me to it. So this was a Corbin exclusive. Um, but Google added some feature flags to the Chrome codebase that specifically mention that they are testing autofill for different buy now pay later providers. They mentioned by name Affirm and Zip, which are like the two big ones in the U.S. But maybe they'll add more. Um, Affirm is the one that like I think it's most. I feel like that's the bigger one. That's the one I see most often on like stores. Um, that's
Yeah, I
also
see
the
it
one
everywhere.
that, yeah. Um, Zip is a little bit. I think that's the least popular one, but that's also the one that Microsoft partnered with a couple years ago to add buy now and pay later to Edge. And it sounds like this will work basically like that, where if it can detect, if the browser can detect this right, it will give you the option of auto filling in like a, automatically generated alias payment method for Affirm or Zip or whatever. So basically, even if the store doesn't support it, you could potentially buy things through Chrome with one of those buy now pay later providers and pay it in like increments of four or whatever. That's what it sounds like. There's no like screenshots or anything. I tried it in the latest Chrome Canary, but the flags aren't in there yet, and they probably wouldn't do anything anyway. It usually takes a while for them to like actually get the thing working after the flag shows up. Um, but yeah, I will say like I saw this and I was immediately very disappointed. This shit is gross. Like and I just muted someone on Mastodon for like going a few replies with me on this because they were being annoying and obtuse. Um, I don't have a like moral qualm with buy now pay later as a concept because it's just loans. You know, and paying things on a payment plan has been a thing for like forever. That's just how capitalism works. It can be okay in certain circumstances. Like I know if everyone had to buy a car in one go, that would be very annoying.
Buying a
And
house might be a
yeah,
pretty good example.
house, yeah, really most things. But the issue with buy now pay later is there's very rarely a distinction in price categories. So you get to the point where like if a online store like really wants you to buy something, like they really need you to buy something, they will slap that affirm button on like a $50 shirt or a $20 shirt. And they'll be
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, you," and they'll put on the webpage, "Oh, you can pay for this in installments of like $5." And someone who has less impulse control, when you give them a lower price on what is already kind of impulse purchase territory, that's not good. That's how you get people further in debt for no reason.
Yep.
Because like most of these are like zero interest, but like you still have to pay them, and if you don't pay them, it goes to collections and eventually shows up on a credit score, and you get dinged that way. Um,
Well, and this is part of how honestly smartphones have gone up in price, because so often you can just see, oh, I could spend $25 a month and get this flagship smartphone. Well, sure, you can, but you're going to be paying it off for 3 years. And
yeah.
are you okay? 3 years is how long a smartphone should at least last, if not longer. But there are a lot of people out there who are also going to be in the position of saying, well, I don't actually want to keep using this smartphone after the second year or something like that.
Or I
Or
just don't want to. I don't want to pay for it for 3 years. Like,
yeah, well, or more real, or more honestly, like it more honestly, you don't want to pay that much for the phone. But
yeah,
people, again, as you said, they don't necessarily have good impulse control, and this is part of the same thing that makes people gamblers or addicts of other types.
yeah, yeah. Like this is in the same exact category as the thing I got really pissed off at. Um, and for I think it was earlier this year is North Carolina finally legalized sports gambling. So
Mm,
for a straight like 2 or 3 months, it was just like the political ads net right now. Straight couple months of sign up now and you'll get like $1,000 in betting credits or something stupid. And like those ads were constant. And like I really felt bad for anyone who has like anything resembling a gambling problem because that really should have been illegal. That was really bad. There's I don't know how many stories of people like losing everything. Like sports gambling is worse because it's more accessible, but like this is a problem with all gambling. And it's the same thing here. It's like, oh, I can buy. I go on this website. I can buy a shirt for like I'm only paying $5 like once every 4 months. It's great. I'm going to buy that now. Um, but one of the things I linked to in this article was a study that was mentioning like the people who are most likely to use buy now pay later are the people with bad credit scores, people who have already declared bankruptcy. Like this is very clearly built for that person. This is not a like, well, they should know better, whatever. Like, no, this is built for them.
mm-hmm.
Because again, like if I see the $50 shirt and I already have $50 because my financial situation is okay, I'm just gonna do that. I'm not gonna bother with the buy now pay later. I've never used any of these services personally because like I don't have to at this moment. But like, yeah, if I was, behind 3 car payments, yeah, sure, I'm smashing that button, and then I might, you know, hurl myself further into debt because of that bad decision later. But it's okay because Google got a cut of that.
Yeah, and that glad you said it that way because it brings us back to kind of the problem with this. Look, if I don't know, let's say you're what's it called, Teespring? I think that's the place that does t-shirts. Um,
Yeah, that's one of them.
yeah, well, yeah, one of them. Yeah, if you're Teespring and you put this on your site, okay, like fine, that's an option you want to offer to your customers. It you know maybe it's not great for your customers, but it is what it is. In this instance, we're talking about a browser adding it as a native built-in feature. And I don't know if you say it exactly this way in the article, but when we were talking about this before, you said, and I completely agree with it, the moment that you have an operating system or a browser putting this in as an integrated feature, that's a problem. It's icky, it's gross, and that's exactly it. This is they're putting this in so that they can have a cut of it, so that if you're on any site where you can make purchases, and I'm assuming, maybe I'm wrong about that, maybe it isn't any site, and maybe sites can opt in or out of this, maybe this is intended to just add in support for these kinds of things for sites that do want to do this so that maybe it's more secure or something like that. We don't necessarily know how this is implemented or why it's implemented, but the very high likelihood is that Google stands to profit from this. And Google's profiting on this is very likely to come in the form of basically saying, "Oh, we see that you want to make a purchase, that you're on a site with a store, and well, you know what? Let's just offer this as an option." The moment that
Yeah,
happens,
a firm is giving them a fat check to put this in Chrome or something like that.
yeah, it could be that. It certainly could be that. But I have one way or the other, what I think is probably the goal here is Chrome is going to detect, is this a store? Are you looking to make a purchase? If so, we're going to offer Affirm as an option. Like it's going to be in there the same as any credit card. Like you'll just be able to use it and basically start your payment plan right in the browser, and it pays the store, and then you just owe Affirm instead of owing the store or the credit card company or whatever. If that's what this is, and I feel like it's safe to say that's what this will be, then yeah,
Probably,
they are.
yeah.
This is Google, specifically Google Chrome, feeding that impulse control issue. This is Google Chrome, specifically Google Chrome. I want to hammer the point. This is the browser that is supposed to be friendly to the web. They're supposed to be driving web technologies. This is the browser that a lot of people generally trust. And they're out there basically doing the same thing as, advertising gambling to gamblers, pushing liquor on people who are alcoholics. It's playing into the gambling addicts. It's playing to that exact same problem people have, where if they don't have necessarily the best impulse control or the best financial awareness, it's taking advantage of them. So yeah, I look, I'm not saying that there aren't purposes for Affirm and buy now pay later, but it probably shouldn't be a thing that is likely to just pop up whenever it senses that you might buy something and says, "Oh, you can have it for cheap, or you can get it now, and don't worry, you'll pay it off in time." That's predatory.
Yeah, it gets predatory for me when it's like an impulse thing. If like, I've seen companies kind of use Affirm and Zip and stuff as like a substitute for not having their own like installment plan. Like, oh, you buy a laptop and you're paying for that with Affirm. Like, yeah, like you're still not impulse buying like a $400 laptop probably, or like
Yeah.
something that would be like an install payment of $400 or something. It's when it gets to be like the really cheap stuff that like, if
Well,
you
you
can't
say really
afford
cheap, but a lot of times it's overpriced cheap stuff.
right?
So
Yeah, either
your
that
example
or
of the $50 T-shirt is a good one.
yeah, just like when it gets into territory of like under normal circumstances, even someone who has a problem would probably be like, I literally cannot buy that. That's like when they see like, oh, it's like basically nothing. Again, same psychological effect as credit cards, except this isn't subject to the credit system.
Yeah.
In most ways. So, yeah, this is just really gross. I really hope this gets killed or something, because everyone gave Microsoft flack for this a couple of years ago when they put this in Edge, and rightfully so, because it's crazy. And now Google is kind of doing that same thing. And one thing I have noticed about Chrome is a lot of the recent feature additions have been focused on shopping. Like that is very clearly like a thing they have been targeting for a while. Like I don't know if it was last year or before that they added like price alerts for price drops, like a lot of that kind of stuff. Like Chrome is getting a lot of shopping related bloat. Um, and it makes me not want to go back to it if I can avoid it. If Firefox implodes, I'll go try Vivaldi or something.
Yeah,
Hoopy said
I
it's
still
because
hold
they
that
were told to
Firefox
tone
is
down.
eventually going to do this.
Maybe. Hoopy said it's because they were told to tone down the shopping search. Maybe.
Actually, yeah, that could be part of it. But yeah, this is just icky. It's bad.
I
They
can't
should
wait
do better.
for I can't wait for them to add this, but like as a concession, they do the thing that like gambling ads do, where they're as you're buying it, there's like a little text at the bottom that says like if you have a problem, call this number.
They won't.
I think
Um,
I think if you're executive who signed off on this idea, I think you should have to work a different job. You can't work in tech anymore. I'm sorry, you fucked up. Go go be useful to society as like
clean
retail
roadkill.
worker. Yeah, you can be maintenance on something. You can wash dishes somewhere. Go be actually useful. Don't do this.
You know what? I'm actually going to reject the idea of them washing dishes. Sincerely, I do not trust them in the space where people need clean dishes to eat off of. I
That's
do not
true.
have faith that they're going to clean them properly in a way that is not going to leave germs, bacteria, and possibly like foodborne illnesses for people. So yeah, please, if you're
Different
one of
job.
those execs that signed off on something like this and has such low uh, moral, like moral and ethical standing, um, yeah, please do not handle food.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And the mere fact that I just said that is like the worst insult. Anyway,
Yeah, you're not good enough to do this thing that like the 15-year-old at McDonald's can do.
yeah, I I have worked in I've worked in a restaurant. I will just say it straight up. I knew one of the laziest potheads I've ever met, and I would trust him handle. Actually, I didn't trust him handling dishes either. He was terrible. But uh,
If
okay,
given the choice.
I mean, given the choice, it's like 50-50. I think both of them are equally
Okay,
terrible.
right.
But yeah, there's some people who should just let's not give them any position that involves critical thinking or being responsible for anything important at
I think
all.
it's I think my conclusion is like if you're making me a cheeseburger, you are more useful to me than putting a firm in a major web browser.
Yeah.
You're doing something much closer to a service. Maybe I shouldn't have a cheeseburger, but I think if I was gonna have one, that's better.
I
Anyway.
yeah.
Um, so what?
Okay,
What?
so
What are we doing
HTC.
next? Okay. Oh, great. I get to keep talking. So there's a new VR headset. Yay! HTC used to make things, remember? But then they sold a lot of that to Google, and then they mostly stopped making VR headsets for normal people and focus on enterprise, just like Microsoft. Um, Now they have a new headset that is also that they claim that this is for like PC VR and some standalone stuff. But that seems to mostly just be marketing. Um, so this is the HTC Vive Focus Vision. Great name, guys. It is
I
a.
believe it's Vive or sorry, Vive Focus Vision XR.
I don't think XR
Oh,
is
it
in the full
Oh
name.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, it's not in the image. Sorry, I
yeah. It's still bad.
yeah.
But yeah, this is a chunk of a headset. It's a big boy. It has. I need to scroll. Um, it has a lot of sensors and cameras on the front, so it can do all the normal VR stuff. It can do up to 120-degree field of view, up to 90 hertz refresh rate. They say they're working on an update later this year that will enable 120 hertz on DisplayPort. There's not a lot of PCs that can do. You need a pretty good PC to do 120 FPS smooth VR. But that should probably have that. If you're paying $1,000, which we'll get to, for this headset, you probably have a good PC. Um, they do support full color pass through, so this is like an augmented reality thing too. You can, if you need to, you can walk around and do stuff normally while wearing this. Um, it is a standalone headset, so this is functionally closer to a Quest headset than a PSVR, like Vive, or not Vive, Valve Index. In theory, it can do some stuff on its own. I didn't get a lot of good details on that. I think HTC has its own like Quest like app ecosystem, but I'm not entirely sure how that works. But there's something there. Um, it does have they did definitely take some inspiration from the Apple Vision Pro. There's like a big headrest thing on the back, so it's supposed to be pretty comfy according to them.
Hmm.
And it also has hot swappable batteries. So they say up to 2 hours on a single charge with the battery, and you can take it out while it's still running and then put a new one in. So it's like, back when I lived with my mom, it's like an electric lawnmower. You just swap the battery and keep going. I thought that's kind of neat, I guess.
Well, it's better than having a battery hanging from cables. So
Yeah, well, if you buy a couple batteries. Um, so yeah, this was really funny because I got this under embargo, and I wrote the article for it because I think I'm the only one at the How to Geek News team that like has done VR recently. Um, and they sent every conceivable detail about this headset to me ahead of time, except the price. And I said to myself at 4:30 yesterday, I was like, I bet I know why they did that. And sure enough, this was released this morning, or for pre-orders. It was announced, and it is $1,000 for this headset. Um, Now, for those of you keeping track at home, the Quest 2, which is absolutely worse than this, but exists. Quest 2, you can get that sucker for like $150 now. It's dirt cheap. You can probably I think if you like sneeze in the general direction of Mark Zuckerberg, Quest 2 will appear. Quest 3 is like $450, $400 regularly. MSRP is $500. There's the PSVR 2, which I think that this is definitely in the like upper tier of VR headsets. So we're talking about like the Quest 3, that's $500, PSVR 2, which is $550, and then you also need the $60 adapter. So that's whatever, $600 ish. Um, and then this is $1,000. The Valve Index is also $1,000. So it's kind of roughly where you're looking at. However, this does not appear to justify that price whatsoever. PSVR 2, I think, has like an AMOLED screen. And the Quest 3 has like a whole, again, not everyone likes Meta, but like they do have a standalone VR ecosystem with like a lot of games and apps on it. So you don't necessarily need a PC. HTC has not replicated that.
and
And
they're probably never going to be able to.
no, they don't have the market share for that. And also Meta's like burning money doing anything close to what they're doing. So the issues here is 2 hour battery life isn't great. That's kind of, VR in general is usually not that good with that, but that's really not good. If it's connected to a PC, in theory, you don't need to worry about that. But like you're paying for the standalone with the ability to do wireless, you probably want to use that. It's using LCD screens, which is not good at that price. I think the PSVR 2 is OLED. I'm pretty sure the Valve Index is OLED. Quest 3 is LCD. It has a Fresnel lens, which is like kind of what VR headsets used to do. It's not as common anymore, because you get like weird like banding effects. It's not that great.
So,
Qu-
just for informational purposes, it's actually pronounced Fresnel.
For now, okay. Yeah, so it has the worst Fresnel lenses. Uh, that like the Quest 2 uses those, and that's $150. So that's not great. The controller, I haven't looked at the controllers a lot. I don't know if they're that good. The thing that's also very funny is this uses the Qualcomm Snapdragon XR2 Gen 1 chip, which I believe is the same one that is in the Quest 2, which is the $150 headset now. So in like standalone mode, it is very underpowered for what you're paying. Um, so like really the only thing that's like kind of interesting here is um like the only reason I could see buying is like if you want eye tracking specifically, because your options for that, as far as I'm aware, is like Valve Index, which you probably should buy instead, or a Quest Pro. I think those are the only like real options you have there at this time because Quest 3 doesn't have that. And PSVR has eye tracking, but only on PlayStation, not on PC. They've not like enabled that in software. Um, so I don't really know why anyone would buy this. Maybe it makes sense if like I know HTC sells like a lot of like extra sensors, like including like body tracking ones you can put on like your legs and arms and stuff. And I would imagine that stuff probably works better with their own headsets than like other headsets. So maybe if you're already like knee deep in that ecosystem, maybe that makes sense. I don't know. But this doesn't really appear to be price competitive with anything. um, and I scrolled through the lovely VR chat Reddit, where all the people who spend far too much money on VR hardware hang out, and all of them are trashing this. I think that's a great takeaway. It's like not even the furries who spend like thousands of dollars on the most advanced VR tracking systems are looking at this and saying this I'm gonna buy this. You messed up, guys. Um, so I'm sure they'll probably most of their market I think is enterprise HTC. Like that's who they've been selling to. Like I don't know which companies, but like I assume like those would like this, but also because of the hot swappable battery. So again, it's like any other like work equipment. Like you can just keep going if you buy a ton of batteries or have them in the office.
Um, yeah. So I'm I'm going to take a moment to not really refute, but at least throw a oddball contextual thought in. You were
In my
saying
Quest
that
3.
people are begging on this in forums. What stands out to me is right now everywhere I look, I feel like I'm seeing people just like trashing on anything, especially if it's gonna cost any amount of money. I mean, PS5 Pro, everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people are hating it and coming up with kind of some insane reasons why they hate it, which are obviously just based on price. The Switch 2 leaked images that came out today have already spawned a ton of weird hate from people who don't have any knowledge of what it's going to be at all, not even price. But they've just already decided, nope, it's going to be really expensive, it's going to be dumb, it's going to be terrible, and it's going to be outdated like 6 months before it comes out. And yes, some of this conversation, I'm sure you saw me having with someone else. But I've already seen it popping up in other places. Similar conversations that are just equally kind of hateful for no basis. It is possible people are just looking at this and going, that's expensive, it's gotta suck. And, we can look at specs and we know some of that's true. The old processor is not exactly a good selling point. But, yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
this is
Maybe
different
this is
because
good in all the other ways.
it sucks also relative to what already exists.
Yes.
That's the main issue here. Is like, yeah, like a high end thing can exist, but the other high end things appear to be better in almost every other way.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't know.
Um,
Maybe this is super comfy or something. I don't know. But
yeah.
there's
So
but
that being said, also Hoopy pointed out that the Apple Vision Pro has eye tracking. You mentioned that, of course, and then said has a feeling that's what HTC thinks it's competing with. And honestly, if you're gonna compete with anyone in the VR space, gonna be honest, yeah, compete with Apple Vision Pro. I'm not even kidding here. Frame it up as you're competing with the Apple Vision Pro, because that costs $3,500, which is dumb. It's too much. And look, I'm not getting mad at Apple for charging that. Like people would get mad at Sony. I'm saying I think market wise, it's just a bad choice. Um, because even on the luxury end, like clearly people are not super keen on it. Um, but if HTC can get away with charging $1,000 for this and frame it as the thing that costs 20, you know, 25, 28%, whatever it is, the cost of a Vision Pro, while having not the same specs, but all the same features. If that's what they can market on, that's not the worst way to frame up your competition. Uh, of course, this falls by the wayside pretty quickly when you consider that it's still HTC. They still do not have a ton of apps to work with. They don't have the best ecosystem. Um, they do have some other perks like the body tracking stuff, which clearly Apple's not anywhere close to touching. But yeah,
yeah, and I would assume this is far worse with augmented reality stuff than Apple because it's
oh yeah.
trying to work with that very old chipset. In addition to everything else Apple has that this doesn't.
Well, and I'm sure it's
Um,
not just the chipset. I bet the cameras are probably inferior. The
yeah, it is lower resolution. I did check that.
well, the cameras
Um,
plus the screen, like the
yeah,
display, like both of those, I'm sure are inferior to what Apple's got in its
yeah.
Vision Pro. So
Like I'm sure it's a little bit better than the Quest 3, which like I've used this in the augmented mode a lot, and like it's good enough where I can like kind of read my phone screen when I'm wearing it, and like I'm fine, walking around my apartment and not bumping into things, but like it's not good. It's not ideal.
yeah.
It's much different than what seems to be the takeaway with the Apple Vision Pro stuff. So I'd like to see HTC try like a mid range thing again or something slightly cheaper, because I don't want um, Meta to be the only one here in standalone stuff. But this is not good.
So
This is not quite there.
I'm gonna agree with the I'd love to see HTC try something cheaper. I mean, obviously, that's an easy enough thing to say as if who doesn't want to see everyone doing
Right.
things that are
Well,
more
because it's not a
price.
problem if you pay in four. It's cheaper that way.
Yes. Um, but the thing that stands out to me is it's classic product economics. Um, if like the things that are cheaper, you usually have to sell in higher volume in order to make your profits, in order to make it sustainable. And I don't think HTC can do that. I mean, if you walk into any electronics store, you're gonna see Quest in there. For sure, Quest 2 or Quest 3, maybe a
Yeah.
Quest Pro. Um, if you walk
Yeah,
into an
I
Apple
have a
store,
I have a I have a normal sized target, like not even one of the super targets, and there is an end cap for the Quest stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's its own little section with all the other consoles.
And every Apple store is going to have Vision Pros. And look, I'm not saying that Apple stores are as plentiful as Targets or any of the other places that carry the Quest stuff, but, Apple stores are plentiful enough in most of the larger cities. Um, where does the HTC sell? I I honestly don't know of them having any retail presence at all. And obviously retail's not the only thing. I mean, if you're the type of person that wants to spend a lot of time in VR, you're probably the type of person that's okay buying stuff over the internet. That's not a big leap. But you're not, unless you are really good at marketing and have a good ability to reach a lot of people, you're not going to sell in numbers. Like, you're not going to have that scale to push a lower price mid-range device that's still going to be, several $100s. You're not going to be able to do that. Not at the scale you need to in order to make it a reasonably profitable device. And so yeah, I think HTC's kind of screwed on this one.
Yeah. The economies of scale are working against their favor for sure.
And very much in the favor of, unfortunately, Facebook, Meta, whatever. So yeah, I don't think we're gonna see that. This is definitely one of those situations where HTC is, I'm sorry to say it, but I think they're doing the only things that they can do. They're targeting enterprise, where, the smart thing is to go after places that have big budgets. I've reviewed a couple of earbuds from HP Poly, and they're grossly overpriced. They're outrageously, stupendously overpriced for what they are. And you can plainly see the purpose is to take advantage of corporate budgets. Like, if someone's doing a purchase for a bunch of people in an office and they have a budget that's, I don't know, $10,000, you spend your budget, because if you don't spend it, it goes somewhere else, and then you never get budgets that big again. So they spend their budgets. If HTC can manage their way into someone's purchasing decision, then yay, they just sold $1,000 headset several times over, or even just one or two of them. It doesn't matter. If they get into a corporate budget situation, yay, they made a bunch of money off that. Just like if they market themselves as the high-end thing, or they market themselves as competing with Vision Pro, if they can successfully make that argument to a few people, then it makes sense. But they'd have to make that argument to so many more people if they are targeting the lower end. So yeah, I think what they're doing is, business-wise, it's a smart choice. It's possibly the only choice they have. It just sucks because it means that they're never going to get a footprint. Like, at this scale, they will never get that footprint.
Yeah. But yeah, I do, to Hoopy's point, I do wonder when we'll see more Quest OS headsets. Again, I don't really like that either, but I mean, I think, I can't remember who was in that first wave of announcements, but yeah, it doesn't seem like HTC is interested. And also, we're still waiting on whatever Google is making. I think the latest rounds of rumors said that was going to be just like normal smart glasses, and if that's true, I'm going to be very sad. But I was already very sad because they killed Daydream like several years ago, so they're probably not going to win me back in the first place.
What does smart glasses even mean at this point? Is this augmented reality? Is this Google Glass?
I think they're talking about Google Glass, like Meta Ray-Bans stuff.
I mean, I'm not. That doesn't really that doesn't really line up with a lot of the rumors of what they were working on with Samsung, software wise, because they were hiring people and working on supposedly AR VR software, and the Google Glass stuff. No matter what all those really bad wannabe journalists said, it was never either of those things. It was just a heads up display. Um, so
Mhm.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, maybe they are working on smart glasses, and that's just the first thing they're going to come out with. But I do think that they're working on something at least more either AR or VR. And being that it's Google, honestly, I think their smart choice is going more AR focused, which I hate saying because I think VR is really where the money's at. But yeah, it is what it
Well,
is.
now you can do both because their displays are getting better, but it is pricey.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, that's HTC's thing that no one will buy. Um, what else we got?
Apple.
Oh yeah,
We're we're entering the final phase. So for those of you who have Apple devices, today's a special day. You can download the latest, greatest, giantest new .0 versions of uh, whatever OS those devices support. If it's a Mac, you can pick up Sequoia. It's no longer a beta technically. If you're on iOS, it's iOS 18. If you're on watchOS, it's I don't know what version that is. watchOS 11. Oh yeah, that's right. It is 11. tvOS
yeah.
18, visionOS 2. Hit that download now button. Don't actually do that because at least a few of these, there are reports of some pretty breaking bugs. Nothing
Yeah,
catastrophic,
Apple.
but
Well,
there
yeah,
are
there
some
was
complaints.
catastrophic because Apple pulled the iPad OS update
Oh
for
yeah,
one of the
yeah,
iPad Pros because they were actually getting bricked.
yeah. They were breaking iPad,
So
the M4 iPads.
yeah,
Um,
Hoopy said I downloaded iPad OS and I hate what they do to control. Yeah, so I've only updated my iPad and my desktop Mac because I'm gonna do a trip soon and I need my main mobile things to not break. That's very important. So I've only updated my desktop Mac and my iPad. I've not played around with the new control center and like home screen stuff on iPad. I need to do that and report back. I'm sure. From what I was seeing in the beta, it looked not ideal. Like Apple still doesn't really know what to do with like Apple has too many things that are either widgets or like widgets, and they don't really know where they should go. Like my iPad has the home screen widgets, and it has the lock screen like kind of widgets, and it has the side panel thing that opens from the side like on Notification Center on Mac, where I can also put more widgets. Um, it seems like the control panel stuff is once again widgets. So I don't really know what's going on there. I haven't played along with that. I did update my Mac. Now, unfortunately, all of the Mac stuff is like mostly predicated on you having an iPhone that is iOS 18. I've not done that yet, so I can't play with any of the fun stuff. Um, really, the only thing I can play with is they added background support to the camera thing, so I can be on the Starship Enterprise here if I click this button right. There it goes. I also need to turn off portrait mode when I do that. So yeah, I can do I can do this now. You know, like everyone was doing 4 years ago in Zoom, but it works slightly better in here. So that's the Mac update. And I did go through the very fun ritual when I updated of um, uh, getting like 15 pop-ups of all my apps wanting access to my local network because Apple made that a permission now. Um, whatever. Like this is the funniest thing about macOS, where Apple cares so much about the user experience, but then every time there is an upgrade, every time there's like something they do where as soon as you upgrade, it the computer starts yelling at you. It's like, what? Hold on, this app asked to do something. God, we were letting it do it before, but now it's not. Now it's not allowed. You need to, and the one it got me on this update was I think it added like login items or something. So I had about like 30 notifications in my notification tray, and they were all like the important category. So when I clicked clear all, it didn't do anything. So I had to click X like 30 times. Um, this is the most intuitive desktop operating system. But there's something like that every year they do something like that that like makes you accept permissions for something. But, I haven't had anything catastrophically break, so that's good. That I've noticed. Maybe I'll notice something later.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm gonna give it a good week or two, just because I have a feeling it's uh Mac OS updates. Look, the things that they're mentioning, just to run through at least what they're hyping. The iPhone mirroring, which is a cool feature. You can get the you can mirror your iPhone screen directly onto a Mac. That's great, but I don't have
Yeah,
an iPhone,
I'm
so
I'm excited to try that, especially if I can click a button on my computer, take a screenshot of the iPhone screen, and it doesn't have like any weird like window border or anything. It's just like what it would be on the phone. That would
mhm,
be awesome for writing articles. That'd be sick. But I don't know if it does that because I've
right.
not updated my phone.
Um, let's see. More surfing power in Safari. I didn't actually read this one. But I just gonna say it. I don't use Safari for hardly ever.
Safari, it got the same thing as iOS, where like you can like click a button to remove annoying things from a web page,
Okay.
and they made the I'll eventually write an article about this whenever I have time, which is going to be never. But eventually, I was going to write an article on how to geek about. They improved the installed web app, so now if you install the web app of a website and then you click like a link that would go to that website in another app, it will open in the standalone thing if you wanted to, which is cool. So like I could maybe like fully replace the Asana Electron app on my computer with the web app, and it work about the same and use like half my RAM.
Yeah.
So stuff like that's kind of cool.
Let's see. They've also got easier window tiling. I don't use this. I probably won't use this, but I'll grant this is something I do know at least a lot of people will like. And this doesn't
Yeah,
require any other
this
weird things. Like you don't need any other Apple hardware for this. It's just any Mac is going to benefit from this. So, that's something.
Yeah, I am test trialing that because I did have to use an app called Magnet to
Yeah,
add
a
this
lot
to
of people do.
macOS, and that was like the first thing I installed when I went back to Mac. I was like, how do I get my Windows tiled? I really need this. That's how I work all the time. Um, and I am trying the Apple implementation, which seems okay. The main difference is that Magnet would like use the full width and height of the screen in like the little segment, and it has a lot of keyboard shortcuts. I couldn't memorize the keyboard shortcuts, so I didn't use that as much. But the Mac implementation is different because it adds a little bit of padding around the windows, which is fine on my desktop because I have a lot of room, but on my laptop I don't.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try it on there. It might annoy me too much. I might need to stick to Magnet.
Yeah, that padding does kind of annoy me. Just even looking at the image that they have in the blog post, but yeah.
I
Um,
won't share my computer screen.
in general, I'm not a fan of uh window tiling like this. Um, I don't like it on Windows. I don't like it on Mac. Um, and if anyone were to look at how my Windows look on my Mac, you'd probably like neat freaks would absolutely lose their minds. They would hate looking at how I have stuff because it all looks like just random papers laying on a desk. Like they're not organized, they don't look nice. But if you know how I use the computer, it starts making a lot of sense. So, anyway, let's see. They're bringing the new passwords app, which is basically just keychain, but uh, presumably a little bit nicer of an interface.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. They broke keychains into its own app, and it can do like it can store like two-factor codes and passkeys and stuff. So
yeah.
that's good if you're like mostly in the Apple ecosystem. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, I'm not. So I will not be using that. Like I you know years of do as I say, not as I do. I wasn't very good about passwords. I've been trying to work on that. I switched to um, Proton Pass, and to their credit, they have apps and extensions on literally everything, even more so than most other stuff. Like one of the things that's annoying in my Quest headset is trying to type in literally any password. It's really bad. But their Android app is on F-Droid and it doesn't require Play services. So I just sideloaded that onto my on my Quest headset, and that it's very easy to log into stuff on there now, and it's also on my phone and computer and everything else. Oh, Carson said Corbin should just use a green virtual background so OBS can make it transparent. Ooh, hold on. Do they have a green color in the picker?
I don't have you
They do.
keyed at, or a background for you, but I could
Okay.
I could do that pretty quick.
Let me find a green PNG file because the one they have in here is like a gradient. I don't. It might work better if it's
Um, let's see. We'll put
green
that
screen
one
PNG.
and where's the capture? Okay. Uh, do I have to?
Davis said many places won't let me use my usual password one. That's infringing on your freedom of speech for sure. I thought this was a free country. I can't set my password as password.
Uh,
Okay. I'm green Corbin now.
yes, you are. Unfortunately, I OBS has a weird display bug, which is causing a problem right now. So I cannot pull up the interface that I would need in order to key you out.
That's very sad.
Yeah, it's this dumb
Seems to
thing where
work
the
okay though.
only way to get the pop-ups to appear is by pulling up the settings window. But unfortunately, the that makes context menus disappear. So I need to be able to pull up a context menu to do that. So yeah,
Nice.
sorry, no way to fix that one this time.
Maybe next time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to work okay. Like the honest, like this is definitely one of my favorite Mac things that Windows is not quite nailed down. I know on the Copilot Plus PCs they have sort of cloned this, but I do really like Mac OS's implementation, like the the like object separation, like the background detection is very good. This is a lot better than like every web app I've ever tried that does this, and I use this constantly. But yeah, it's a little. It's not as responsive, but it's pretty decent on my meager M1 Mac computer.
Yes. Yes, your deeply inferior, uh, highly powerful system.
Yeah, and I was gonna try the Apple Intelligence stuff because I do have an M1 and they supported that far back, but I forgot all that stuff got delayed to the point one update next month, so cannot try that yet. Very sad.
So far, it's delayed to that one.
Yeah.
Let's wait and see what happens. There's some
So
part of me that just can't help but think that come next month they're going to be like, yeah, it's going to be delayed to a point two.
yeah, and I'm still not sure what I would use that for. Also, that's the main thing. I saw one person who was saying like they use Grammarly a lot and they probably don't need to anymore because the Apple thing is very similar. Um, but that's not really a concern for me because I just write everything important in Word. So yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense.
I definitely have no need to summarize or rewrite text. That's always bad. Although the one thing I did see in Apple's demos that look good if it works is the thing in Apple Mail where in your list of messages in the mail app they have like the first couple lines of the email in the preview, but they were showing a thing where instead of that it tries to summarize the email in the little preview thing. So that's cool because that initial like usually the first couple lines in the email are not actually that useful. So I could see the utility in that if it worked.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh man, I'm so mad at OBS right now. This bug has been around forever. It and I know what it's doing. It's technically popping stuff behind the window. It's got a window ordering issue. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's there's no way to fix it without, I think it actually requires a full system restart, not
Nice.
just killing the app and starting it again. Yeah, I don't know. It's
Okay.
been around for a while. Anyway,
It's fine. I'm Windows XP now.
yes, you are on Windows XP. Um, which, not that it's at all important, but there is a spot that I go to take photos, and whenever it's sunny out, as I drive on my way there, there are hills that dead serious look almost identical to these. Like I've
Mm.
always joked that they are the Windows XP background. Um. Anyway, let's see. Yeah. There's a few other minor things that are mentioned for Mac OS. They're not too special. iOS, was there anything special in here? Other than, of course, RCS support, which is, oh my god, it's a thing. Um,
I don't know if I will ever use that because I text like uh, my immediate family members and like two people. Everyone else is on something else, so I might not actually ever use this. But I'm glad it's there for the people who do text more.
um, well,
I'm
at a
happy
bare
for them.
minimum, eventually, you are going to probably receive like two-factor stuff, and in theory, it may or may not be encrypted.
Mhm.
So that's something, kind of. Um, let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I figure it's at least good that there's RCS support. Oh hey, if you and I ever actually have a reason to meet up, um, and you never know, that might happen before I'm old and gray. Oh wait, um, yeah, who knows?
Okay, I'll be there in like 6 months.
You might like Oregon. Come visit Oregon.
Okay.
Um,
I've been to Washington, but I didn't go further south. I don't
yeah,
think.
to be fair, same thing,
Yeah,
except
it's almost the same
except our
thing.
drivers are way better.
Mm.
Washington drivers are like the worst I've ever encountered. And I lived
Yeah.
in
Well,
Vegas.
yeah, that was a family trip a very long time ago where we visited someone who lived like I think like an hour outside of Seattle. So we visited, then went to Seattle, and then drove through the land border to Vancouver. So that's also my only Canada experience is Vancouver, which just it felt like America, but I didn't understand the road signs. what's a kilometer? I don't know.
You didn't understand the road signs and you were confused about how to spend loonies.
Hmm.
Um,
It's nice though.
yeah, no. And to be fair, my only time in Canada was also going to Vancouver. I mean, it's one of like 3 cities.
Yeah.
Canada is not much of a country.
Yeah. Where am I gonna go visit? Alberta? No.
Um, sorry, Canada, we're picking on you, and it is unfair.
Sorry, Canada. You should have had more livable space.
Honestly, yes, that's true too.
Skill issue.
Yes. Um, so let's see. The other big thing for iOS, they made the home screens very customizable in the sense that you can now put icons in places instead of just having them do whatever the hell they're gonna do, and you can color code them. Yay! That's now a thing. So we now get to see the least inspired looking iOS home screens.
Yeah, I'm so excited for iOS users. They get to go through their 2012 Android phone user phase now, where they just make the ugliest home screens you've ever seen in your entire life. But it's fun for like a couple weeks, so I'm happy for them.
Yeah, I think I'm glad Twitter is effectively garbage now because this time we don't have to sit through it.
Yeah,
We
everyone's gonna have their really ugly phone screens for a couple months and then go back to normal. But that's okay.
Yeah. So
Everyone having their experimental phase.
yeah, but we can ignore it more easily this time as long as we're just ignoring Twitter. Um, black and white icons only. Kind of agree. That's almost the way it has to be.
I mean, it would be honestly, I would really like iPhone to support since they're like halfway there now. It'd be really cool if they supported custom icon packs
Yes.
because like that is the customization thing that I held on to the longest on Android. Um, just because like it looked cool, and also at a certain point when everyone started switching over to like every phone app icon must be like primary colors, and like all the Google apps looking identical. Like it was a usability improvement. At a
Yeah.
certain point, it was like, oh, good, I can instantly tell which app this is. So that'd be cool to see on iPhone. But it seems like the current implementation of like basically like a primary color and an accent color on the themes would make that worse.
Yeah.
So I'm not interested in that.
So, little bit of a honest disclosure. Um, when I was doing teardowns, that's I was still doing teardowns when they started switching all of the apps to have basically identical looking icons, or all the Google apps. Um, at a certain point, I found that I was spending, I mean, not outrageous amounts of time, but I was spending enough time looking at the apps in the launcher, having to read the title of the app, or looking closer at the icon so I could figure out, am I launching the right one right now to do side by side comparisons, because that was becoming such a common problem. I actually wrote it into my scripts that it would launch the apps for me. That way I wouldn't have to go looking for them, because it like that was adding, no joke, 10, 15, 20 seconds to hunting down apps sometimes. It was horrible. I hated it. So yeah, I actually wrote it into my installer scripts that it would just auto launch the apps for me so I wouldn't have to hunt them down otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
That should not have to be a thing. I'm just saying. That should not have to be a thing. And it's still a problem today. Like I kind of hate using a lot of Google apps because of this. Um
Yeah, and I think also the if Apple did this, the iPhone ecosystem I think has a lot more people who would pay for icon packs
oh
than
yeah,
Android.
so many.
So I feel like if you're a designer, that could maybe be a good gig.
Well, I'm look at all the other things where people have willingly paid for packs of stuff, like sticker packs for iMessage
Mhm.
was actually like a valid business. I don't know if it still is, but it certainly was for a while. Um, and like ringtone packs. That's a thing that I honestly thought was going to die with pre-smartphone days. Like the smartphone should have killed those, and they actually lasted into for a little while into the iPhone. So yeah, people on iPhones will spend money. But speaking of terrible things, I've heard that the Photos app redesign that Apple's been hyping up, apparently it is kind of awful to use. I guess it looks nice or reasonably nice, but I saw a few people complaining that basically it's really buggy and janky and kind of awful to use on a phone. It's tolerable to use on an iPad, but that's about it.
Yeah, I barely use the Photos app because I still use OneDrive for backups. So the Photos app is more like I need to find the image I just saved from the web browser. That's most of my usage of the Photos app, so I can't comment on that.
Yeah. Um, let's see. Updates to iMessage. Um, intelligent categorization of mail. They basically added the thing that Gmail's had forever. Um, let's see. Distraction free browsing with Safari. It's the same thing that the Mac has. Brand new passwords app, we already talked about. Privacy features designed to empower users. I'm just going to assume that's the generic. They always have that kind of stuff. First set of Apple Intelligence features available next month. Okay, so that's not there yet. Yeah, that's the updates for the iPhone. We already talked about Mac. Do we care about any of the others? I mean,
No, I still haven't figured out the last year's WatchOS update. I still haven't figured out whatever they're doing with the smart stacks. I'm like, I'm not messing with that. Just that's just on the other page of my watch now.
yeah. Um, I hate to say it, but yeah, this for a major update to all of their platforms. This felt a lot like the last Apple event. Like, yay, you announce that things are happening, and okay, that's fine. People buy it, and things will have presumably improved. But it was dull. It was lifeless. It was boring, and that's kind of what these
Yeah.
updates feel like too.
I
And
will take back everything I complain about if Apple Intelligence lets me make alt text for images. Because I do want to do that without paying for OpenAI API credits. Even though the API credits are very cheap, they're still burning down the rainforest. So that'd be cool if I could do that on my own computer.
so basically, you want to burn down the North Carolina forest.
Yeah, I mean Duke Energy beat me to it, so it's fine.
Valid.
They already like dumped toxic sewage in all the rivers.
I mean,
Who amongst us hasn't done?
yeah, to be fair, I did a lot of that in my youth. Um,
He said Corbin a big fan of the Gemini Nano in the Chrome update. Yes, I was looking at that. And yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, Google is working on APIs to let web apps use the Gemini Nano model they're putting in Chrome now. So web apps will be able to do like, but the feature that I saw they were working on so far, which I don't think are even functional, is like web apps can use it for the writing and summarization stuff, which I don't care about because I don't. AI writing things is not helpful to me. Maybe summarizing, but that's also not a thing I need AI to do for me very often. Once it can do image stuff, that would be sick. Like if they get that, even just from an accessibility standpoint, if they get it working, we're like, oh, this image is missing alt text on the web page. Give us 1 second, and we'll figure out what this is for you.
yeah.
That's very cool. And I know, like, when I showed off my alt text creator browser extension, which I'll find and put in the YouTube chat, the prospect of it being an accessibility tool did come up, but it's not really good for that because it does need an API credit every time.
Yeah.
And there is like a delay. There's like a couple seconds potentially. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say the worst thing, like, it's one thing if you're doing this on your side to generate something for yourself that, you know, it is what it is. If you do something, if you put something out there and then it's forcing everybody, well, not forcing everybody, but if anyone who would need that accessibility needs to process it and generate that description for themselves, that's putting a lot of processing requirement on a lot of other people. It's so much better when
also
the source does it one time.
Yeah, and give a prayer for your laptop's battery life if it's trying to make alt text for images constantly on all your web browsing.
Yeah,
that's gonna get a little bit intensive, unless you have one of those shiny new Copilot Plus laptops. But even it's probably still, you probably want to use that NPU for other stuff.
No matter what, you're gonna be burning battery life.
Yeah,
but yeah, it would be nice if there was some sort of almost wiki style, everyone contributes kind of a strategy to that. Like if it's gonna happen, the first person who processes a thing kind of processes it and then contributes it back. That'd be hard to do, but it's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I know, I forget what it's called, but I know there's an accessibility app that's kind of like that, where like a blind person maybe needs something in a store and they can't figure out, and they can open an app and like it'll connect to someone who can show them. But also to like kind of close to what you were saying is, I know there are social media accounts where if someone sees a post that doesn't have a description, they can tag that account, and it's either like gets a human to do it or like does it automatically, and they'll figure it out. But yeah, some system like that would be cool.
Yeah, I kind of picture this is obviously not the same thing, but something almost akin to how it used to be possible. They killed this not that long ago. It used to be possible for people to contribute transcripts of YouTube videos. So they could just watch the video, and if they, whatever particular language they know well enough, they could just transcribe into that language whatever is said in the YouTube video and basically submit it back to the channel owner. The channel owner could then approve it or deny it or whatever. And yeah, that was a really neat thing that people could do. Granted, it was, a limited number of people were ever going to do that kind of a thing and only for select channels, but hey, it was a neat idea. But I like the idea that in theory someone could automate it so that any AI processing that needs to be done for a page could then basically be contributed back and help everyone. The only problem is, even as I say that, I realize, oh yeah, the moment anybody comes up with something where that's a thing, other people are going to come along and be like, oh, we'll just abuse the API and submit back like prawn or something. Yeah. So yeah, we can't do this because the internet is awful.
People may be ruining things.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else, or can I get food?
No. I'm not even gonna say anything about this thing. Okay, so well, you've already pitched your alt text generator, so I'm gonna say that's your pitch. That, and everyone go to spacebar.news. So let's see. As usual, for those that would like to support the channel, links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. Of course, massive thanks to Curvy Mermaid, David, Austin, Carson, and Diablo. Y'all are awesome. And of course, huge thanks to Corbin for coming by, hanging out, being part of the show. And huge thanks to all of you in chat for being part of the conversation, because believe it or not, we actually read every single thing you write, or very close to it.
That's true.
Corbin
It's
skips
so hard
over
to-
every other
it's-
message.
It's so hard to keep up, but we're very diligent about it.
Austin.
Austin, no.
I mean, you know, that's understandable. I get it.
Who let Trump in here?
I mean, of all the people in the chat, he's not the first person I thought was going to say that.
Mm-hmm.
The first person was Corbin.
That's true.
Anyway, so yeah. All right. I'm going to be back this weekend for some gaming. Y'all know the routine. This may or may not be the last weekend that I'll do morning game streams. We'll see if it keeps going. Carson, I don't know if you've heard this, but all mainstream media of any kind apparently wants Trump to win. That's what we hear. That is the secret. God, I feel like I'm living in the weirdest timeline for sure. But on that note, I'm gonna get out of here and go get some sleep. So I hope you all have an excellent rest of your weekend. I'll see some of you back this weekend for some gaming, and next week for some RambleCast. But with that, take it easy. Have a great night. Have a great rest of your week, and see you soon. Good night, everybody.
Bye.